Hi everyone, my name is Paul Young. I'm just going to walk you through the stock options and the NDP's proposal where they're going to eliminate the deduction for stock options as part of the overall compensation package that they're reviewing as part of the executive compensation. So let's talk about stock options. There's basically two types of stock options. I'll keep it very basic. There's what we call as employee stock options, which are some of the ways that companies compensate employees to kind of retain them, keep them, um, to, as as a way to kind of provide additional compensation as the company grows and becomes successful. Now, they were a big push in the 90s where a lot of the compensation for employees was driven by employee stock options. A lot of things have changed over the years in terms of the usage of it. It's still used, but they're used a lot more predominantly where you see up with startup companies more so than the brick and mortar companies that are around. Especially with employees, you're seeing a lot less the old style corporation, but the new startups really use them quite a bit. And that's typically why I'm bringing that up, is because in general, the NDP, when they look at policy, never looks at all angles of policy. What they do is looking for quick hits for their policy. So when they target the stock options, they are looking at these big CEOs at the top 1%. What they never did and failed to do is they fail to look at how compensation rolls down to other corporations, especially startups, in terms of how stock options are used. Now, what they really want to do is there's a 50% deduction as part of the overall flow when the stock options are cash. In other words, 50% of that is not taxable. So what the NDP wants to do is remove it and make it 100% taxable in the year that it's basically exercised or sold. And it's a big issue, as I said, with stock options for employees, because typically the holding period's a lot longer than the open market. Normally it's a 3 to 5 year holding period that they're vested. So in essence, if I sign an employee up in year one, he's likely not going to get a vested interest in those stock options till about third year or fifth year of it. So it kind of keeps them to retain it. The other thing is it kind of tries to keep the brain power there, especially with startups. So in essence, this guy's going after this stuff for one reason only, to show that he's anti-rich. He's anti-prosperity. So anytime the NDP brings in policies like this, they really never look at all angles. They're looking at a quick tax grab without truly understanding how that compensation flows in terms of the overall market trends. Now, most companies in Canada that use them are IT startups, large multinationals, and Canadian public traded companies. Now, he's really only looking at the large multinationals and the Canadian public traded companies because he's basically getting advice from two people. Jim Stanford, which is a uniform guy who's a pro-socialist who believes that we should tax people higher and these nasty corporations are just bad. Kathy Leahy, who's a Queen's University law professor, who seems to think that she's an expert in all aspects of taxation, which she is not. So most of these people are driven by social policy, not by economics. So whenever you hear the NDP propose something as a hit, it's a hit because they believe in social policy more than they believe in prosperity. Now, in Canada's case, the startup tech business is a very strong area in key areas of this country. It's throughout Canada in general, but the big areas you see is in Toronto, predominantly Markham, Ottawa, Quebec City, Vancouver are the key areas. A lot of these things start as university ideas. Open Tech started that way. BlackBerry started that way. So if you're going to attack stock options, wouldn't you think you'd look at the impact to startup businesses? So why didn't the NDP do that? Easy, because they're looking at a tax grab. Now, I just wanted to show you briefly the top 500 growing companies generated about $20 billion of new business over a 3-year period. Now, take a look at this list. Look at how many are information technology companies. It's quite significant, hey? So, you're hearing a guy say, we want to develop, become more technology based. If you want to be more technology based, wouldn't you look at all aspects of angles of policy from payroll taxes to stock options to loans and grants? Wouldn't you be doing that? But that's not the case with the NDP. So when you cast your votes, I think you seriously need to look at, stop listening to all their socialistic policy, because at the end of the day, there's only one taxpayer. It's you. Whatever kind of scheme they come up with, they'll find ways to tax you. That's the NDP model. If you want a government that looks at low taxation and provides program spending, the only choice would be is a Conservative government of Canada. Thank you.